The one lesson that I honestly wish I knew when I was much younger is that consistency is the most important trait. It is more important than talent, it is more important than dedication, it is more important than hard work, and it will give you the results you're looking for. I think a good example of this is you see online all of these courses, all of these hacks, all of these shortcuts that promise you, X amount of revenue, success in this, losing weight, gaining muscle, improving your relationships, finding, the love of your life. All these things, they offer you some magical formula, some path you can follow, some solution to your problem. Um, and the important thing with that is, none of them are selling you improvements in the traits that give you that success. You know, I think the thing that they shy away from and they can't sell is that it is very hard to become more consistent. It's much easier to sell a skill to someone, learn how to edit your videos to get more views, instead of learn how to become more consistent in your posting, editing, and release schedule so that over time you can grow your channel, right? That is a change you need to make internally. That is something you need to change within yourself, um, and then use and repeat and then reap the rewards. Um, and honestly, I've been there. Like I am constantly struggling with how can I be more consistent? If I want to learn a fourth language, which I'm currently doing, how can I every single day or every 2 days have some sort of schedule where I am learning new words, where I'm practicing new sentences, where I'm learning a bit of grammar, where I'm expanding what I know, and where I'm getting those reps. I think another example of mine is I have for the longest time worked out. When I started out as a teenager, it was mostly push ups, pull ups, calisthenic movements, some curls here and there. But I have consistently been doing that since I was, I don't know, 14 years old. I didn't do it perfectly, right? Like I didn't have some sort of magical solution and the most optimized training schedule, the most optimized diet, the perfect exercises. I wasn't even going to the gym for the first like at least 10 years until I was in my mid 20s. I had never stepped foot in the gym, right? Consistently. But what I did was I developed the consistencies of working out, of making exercise part of my daily, weekly, monthly routine. And then with time, I learned how to do it better. If you want to gain muscle, you probably should be in a surplus, right? You need to gain some weight. You cannot build muscle magically. If you want to get bigger past a certain point, calisthenics are probably not the best way to do it, right? Especially if you want to put size on your lower body, you need to start lifting weights. You need to start doing some squats. You need to start doing some deadlifts. You need to do other lower body movements. And this would not have happened if I didn't have the consistency to go through the motions, go through the beginner phase, which lasted forever, go through the intermediate phase, which also lasted a long time, which I think I'm still personally in. You know, I'm I'm taller, so I'm 6'2". I'm around like 210 pounds, and I have still a lot of room on my frame to grow, and I'm in my mid 30s. But the thing that I did well and intuitively was able to accomplish without too much effort was being consistent. That is the one thing that, if someone looks at me now, is like, oh, you have an impressive physique, you must be working out. Well, that took forever to build, right? That took 10 plus years of just dedication and enjoying the process, enjoying, taking the time, an hour a day to put in a good workout and not necessarily seeing results for sometimes months on end. But when I look back 2 years ago, I'm like, oh, okay, my arms have gotten bigger, or this shirt now that I'm wearing was much looser before. And that is one thing that I'm really focused now on. Okay, I'm trying to accomplish this new thing. How can I be more consistent in it? I know I have some sort of goal. For example, I started this YouTube channel. My goal is to get monetized in the next 4 months, right? I think the number one thing that I need to do to accomplish that is not, have the best ideas for videos, or have the best editing, or have the best thumbnails, or, find a guru somewhere that's going to give me a 10-point plan on how to grow my YouTube channel. No. The most important thing I know I need to do is be consistent, right? I need to consistently post, maybe on a 2 or 3 day schedule. That will allow me to try different topics, see what resonates with YouTube, see what I like to talk about, see what I'm good at talking about, and really test out, can I talk about something for like 10 minutes without just running out of ideas? How can I make this more enjoyable? It's a little bit like working out, right? Like if you go every single day and you're like, I will do lower body because I need to grow my lower body and increase my squat, for example, I'm on a 3-plate squat, you're going to burn out. You can't do that every single day, right? You're going to have to take breaks. You have to rotate a bit of upper body, do some running, take some days off here and there, do some accessory work. I don't know, work on your calves, work on your hamstrings. So I think I would take the same approach. I'm going to take my time, but be consistent. I think another good example is, being consistent doesn't require you to be great at something, right? I think that is something that everyone wants to be like, oh, I want to learn to be the best at this one thing. For example, in the gym, I want to learn all the best exercises. I want to know exactly how to squat. That will come with time. You will learn to be better with time. You need the reps first, right? And for building a YouTube channel, for example, you need to try it. You need to see what sticks. You need to see what's not good. You need to see what you're not good at and learn those skills. But the only way you're going to do that is by getting those reps in, right? And you're not going to be born a natural YouTuber. You look at some of the best channels out there, the biggest channels, and you go back to like their first videos, there's a huge difference. There's huge growth, right? They've learned to speak to camera, the editing has gone up, and they have really become, what they are now through all those iterations. They weren't born YouTubers. Yes, they probably had some sort of, some inner qualities that drew them to the platform, to the medium, and that probably allowed them to be successful. But they were only able to demonstrate these qualities through the consistency of doing that behavior and doing those things time and time again, and learning and developing. So I really think that talent has nothing to do with consistency, right? Like you might be a horrible writer. Horrible writer, or even, I don't know, your penmanship is horrible, right? Like, you don't read my writing, it's chicken scratch, I write like a doctor, right? But I guarantee you, if you dedicate it every day for a week, 30 minutes on perfecting your penmanship, you would become a better writer. You would have a nicer signature. You would be able to do different fonts and things like that, even though you're someone that has never spent time on it, was never good at it, and nobody wanted to read his stuff because it looked like chicken scratch. So I think that is proof that talent has nothing to do with it. Talent is something that I think gets developed, and with enough time, enough reps, you will see how much talent you have, and you will see that actually you probably have way more talent than you think. And that's not because of the innate, I was born a great YouTuber, no, or I was born to be a power lifter. No, you become a power lifter. I think the other thing is, you have to work hard. Yeah, of course. And I think the thing that gets lost with hard work is, sometimes the hardest thing is to just do the work, right? I think that is the hard work, is just do it. You have to, one, dedicate the time to it. Two, you have to try things and likely you're going to fail. Three, you're probably going to be doing things, spending time, resources, things you could, time you could spend on other things. So you're investing and you're losing that. You're not getting any payback, right? So I think the hard work is actually doing the work. It's not that the work is necessarily hard, right? I'll give another example. You want to become a better cook. So you try recipes. Yes, you will need to spend some time, an hour or 2 hours to cook something. Yes, you're gonna need to spend money on the ingredients. Yes, it might not turn out great, but you will learn something. The next time you're gonna do the recipe, you know what to change. So the part of it that is hard is doing it, but it's not necessarily hard work. And I find that if you take any task that you want to accomplish and you break it down to its most sort of simple elements, you will see that, this isn't that hard. Unless obviously you're like, I want to be the world's best chef, right? I want to be the number one YouTuber. I want to be Mr. Beast. Then I think those goals are really lofty and you should never set goals like that. Just the way I'm not going to set goals. I want to be like the next Mr. Olympia if I'm not on PEDs, right? Like that is never going to happen, right? So I think if you set realistic goals and you're really like, okay, well, like myself, in the next 4 months, I want to monetize my channel. So what do I need to do? I need to have 1,000 subscribers and I need to have 4,000 viewing hours, right? That is an achievable goal. Maybe it's going to take me 4 months. Maybe it might take me 2 months. It might take me a full year. That is not important. The most important thing is that I have a goal that is set. I have dedicated myself and have built the consistency to stick to it, right? So being able to lay that out and say, okay, well, what do I need to do to try and reach that goal? Okay, well, I need to make a video every 2-3 days, post it. It needs to be about this and that. It needs to be that long. It needs to look like this. That is what is going to get me there. That is the consistency I'm looking for. So when you go out there and you're looking, how can I achieve X? How can I do Y? How can I get Z? Don't try and look for a solution of how to do it. Yes, that might work. Yes, you might be able to pay someone money, follow exactly what they're doing, and get what you're looking for. And that is great. I think that sometimes you need to do that. But I think what you should also look for is like, okay, how can I make a change in myself? How can I be more consistent and get myself to that goal? And I think with that, what you'll find is a repeatable framework you can use for other things, right? I think these are some of the things where it's like, I'm not just want to be good at this one thing. I have other aspects in my life. Like I mentioned at the beginning, maybe you want to get a girlfriend, right? Again, there, you need to be consistent, right? You need to put yourself out there. You need to be able to dress properly. You need to be able to talk and, have a good conversation. You need to maybe stop being shy and be able to approach people in your day-to-day life. Maybe, you need to up your dating game on the apps, right? You need to make a better profile. You need to be on it weekly or respond to messages, right? That is all consistency. That is all an approach. It's a mindset. And, obviously that's a big word. You just have to change your mindset and you're going to get what you want. And that's, it is part of it, right? But I really think if you really put a poster up on your wall behind you and it says consistency is key to success and might be the only key to success, like that wouldn't be too far from the truth, right? And I think the other thing I would want to add to this is, like I said at the beginning, I personally struggle with this and to this day struggle with it, because consistency is not only starting something, it's seeing it through. And seeing it through doesn't mean necessarily like you need to succeed. I think the alarm went off. That's fine. We'll just leave it in the background. That's gonna be your music for the background. What was I saying? Oh, now it started vibrating. I'll just go run and get it. All right, I stopped it. This was actually going to be like an unscripted, no cuts video. I'm going to have to cut, but that's fine. Consistency is something that like I've struggled with and continue to struggle to this day. And really, the thing that you shouldn't mistake it for is that yes, you have a goal, but really consistency is to be able to be consistent enough to get to a certain point to validate something, right? Maybe you have a goal where I want to be able to save money for a vacation. I have this much to save, $2,000, I don't know. And I want to go to Aruba for a week, right? And I want to do that because I haven't gone on vacation in the last 3 years because I've never been able to save money for it. Succeeding in that and being consistent is that it's not necessarily that you will save the $2,000 and you will go to vacation in Aruba for a week. It could also be that you'll be consistent enough to save $1,000 and go to, I don't know, San Francisco for 4 days, right? You will be surprised where the consistency will take you. And most of the times, the surprise is going to be a positive one, right? And I think this is something that we can't discount. The fact of being consistent will take you somewhere. That will have and provide some value to you. You can't necessarily tell right away where it's going to lead you. And that is why it's so important to invest in it and be like, you know what? I am only at $300. That is fine. I keep going. And you get to 500 and you get to 1,000. And then you're like, you know what? Actually, I think this is good enough. I can get the same sort of value of going to San Francisco for 3 days with some friends that I would to Aruba for a week. But what would you have gained? You would have gained the ability to now save for a vacation. And you can repeat that. And I think this is the golden nugget here is that consistency is repeatable. You can take it to something completely different and be successful in it. You can use it to slowly inch towards your goals. And if you apply that process to everything, your work life, your personal life, your inner spirituality, whatever is important to you, I don't know, maybe you're like, oh, my backyard looks horrible. I haven't done anything in it in the past year and it's overgrown with weeds. Maybe you apply consistency to that. You know, you get rid of the weeds. You clean up, then you start planting. Maybe you remove the topsoil and you put some grass. And you will see maybe within 6 months, your backyard is completely transformed. So I think all of these are just great examples of how I personally think consistency is not spoken to enough. And that is because it is something you need to change within yourself. You can't buy it. You can't pay someone else to be consistent for you. You have to make the internal change, which is hard. And you probably always be slacking. You'll always be, in an uphill battle with it. You might be consistent for like a year on the things you're doing and then get it down. I don't know, something goes wrong, you may be a little depressed, you need to take a break. But that is fine. I think another great example is like training. Sometimes you get injured and you can't train as well. So you take some time off to heal. But the muscle memory is there. Once you go back to full training, the body knows what to do. I think the consistency is the same thing. If something happens and you can't be consistent with something, but you've practiced it, you have the muscle memory, you can always go back and continue. Yes, you lose out a little bit, you'll be a little bit behind, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter, right? Obviously you have an infinite amount, a finite amount of time on this earth, but things don't take forever to develop. And I really think that if you take one thing away from this video is that you can be more consistent, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It can be small changes in your day to day that you can implement right now and get a little bit closer to your goals. That's enough of me ranting about consistency. I'll be posting hopefully daily on this channel about things that just pop into my mind that I think are important. It could be about sports, it could be about lifestyle changes, it could be about economics, it could be about politics. Honestly, I have no idea. The one thing I know is that I will be consistent.